Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask a question in one of my videos yesterday talking about how sex drive and your body's ability and need to reproduce go down dramatically the lower your body fat gets because it sees you in a state of starvation. Now I'm going to flip his question in here, and he basically asked, well, that doesn't make sense. If your body thinks it's going to starve and we have a biological imperative to survive through reproduction, wouldn't your body want you to spread your seed everywhere so that you would have a chance of having an offspring survive? Let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting, and let's talk about this. Alright, short answer, no. Absolutely not. It's the exact opposite. Because that would actually reduce your chances of surviving in real starvation situations, and it would reduce your chances of your offspring surviving. And I'm going to get into that in a minute because people don't seem to grasp this, that they're thinking specifically in terms of they're the only one starving. Alright, the issue here, what your body does first of all, when it sees you starving to death, we are designed to survive famines, ice ages, everything else. We've had ancestors who have survived hundreds if not thousands of these. That has given us genes meant to survive these things, because people who didn't have the right genetic traits and behavior and everything else to survive ice ages died. They died during those ice ages. So we weeded out the unfavorable genetics for that. One of the things that your body tries to do is preserve itself when you're starving to death. Obviously, every single animal on Earth goes through phases to where during its development and everything at different points where it starves to death. Species, animals all over the world starve to death and have since day one. The struggle for food is very, very real outside of a first world country. Something a lot of us don't understand. We don't understand it in the wild. That is the most brutal environment. Animals' entire populations starve to death. So you see population bottlenecks that give you gene flow and everything. Alright, so with humans, because we are well designed genetically to survive starvation, that means that our body tries to cut out our energy production, meaning it will do whatever it can to get your metabolism down, whatever it can to get your energy expenditure down, with only focus being finding food. That's one reason that as you're losing weight and cutting, you become more and more food obsessed. That's your body's biological imperative to survive. It wants you to quit using energy on other things. It's going to make you lethargic. It doesn't want you to exercise. It becomes harder to exercise when you train because your body thinks you're starving to death if you're losing weight. And the longer you've been losing weight and the leaner you get, the more and more your body becomes convinced that you are in fact starving to death and there is no food available. So it wants you to take all of your energy away from anything that is going to cause you to expend energy for any reason other than finding food. And it will become stronger and stronger. The more weight you lose, the leaner you get, and the longer you are losing weight. It will become stronger and stronger, your brain chemistry. It will do whatever it takes to make you stop spending energy. Alright, what that includes is, of course, sex. The problem with sex, we have an enormous biological imperative to reproduce. Sex drive is one of the dominant driving forces of almost all animals, but definitely humans. We think about sex a lot. We have a biological imperative to have sex. We are designed to reproduce, make children. Those of us who didn't have those extreme urges didn't produce as many children many, many years ago, and they died out. So basically, we're the offspring and descendants of the nymphomaniacs, basically. So as you can imagine, we get those genes that say, hey, you need to have sex and you need to have a lot of it. You know, not just once a year, like a lot of animals do. There are animals that only do it once a year. We're not one of them. We're a very prolific species. We're like bunny rabbits, given the ability. The food, resources, and time, we are like bunny rabbits. Alright. So that being said, we have such a powerful drive towards that what your body will do, the only way for a man to lose that sex drive, for it to go down, is for your body to start cutting testosterone out. And it's gradual at first as you're losing weight. You know, you're going to lose very small amounts of testosterone. But it is going to go down anytime you're losing weight, just a little bit. But when you start reaching very, very lean body fats, to the point where your body is saying, hey, this guy really is going to starve to death. Doesn't matter that you're lifting weights to hold on to muscle. Doesn't matter that you're taking anabolic steroids. Or let's say something that doesn't suppress testosterone. You could be taking tons of growth hormone, peptides, everything else. Your body's still going to start cutting testosterone down. because it's like, oh, we gotta do something about this. We can't have this body running around horny all the time, because he's going to spend energy chasing pussy, and he's going to spend energy having sex if he does get some. All right, because that's what men do. We put a lot of effort into these things. Men will spend enormous amounts of effort and energy trying to get laid. We absolutely will. Every man knows this. Every man knows this. We will put a lot of work into it. Well, your body doesn't want you putting work into it if it thinks you're going to starve to death, because that extra work could be enough to push you through the starvation point to where you die. And guys start getting under 10% body fat, you're getting damn lean. Your body will start cutting testosterone levels down dramatically to that of a 70 or 80-year-old man if it has to, and it does. We've seen the studies on those pre-contest bodybuilders. Their testosterone levels look like 70 and 80-year-old men. Why? Because their body is convinced they are starving to death. Because there's no way in an environment where they had food available that humans would do that. This is the only endeavor to where humans will intentionally starve themselves to death with piles of cookies, cake, and steak and everything else laying around. All right, we crave, to keep us from starving to death, we crave salty, fatty, and sweet. So we crave sugar, we crave fat, and we crave salt. Those are our three cravings. Whichever of those you're most prone to will become more and more pronounced the leaner you get or the more weight you lose. So we crave those things. This is the only environment, is physique competition and aesthetics reasons, that the human being will ever starve themselves, or anorexia, which is a mental disorder. The only reason humans will starve themselves down with abundant food available. It's not natural for us. We're not built that way. You have to really go out of your way to do that. So, your body is convinced you're starving to death. The last thing it wants you to do is to be chasing pussy and be having sex. Both of those can burn a lot of calories. Which could make you starve to death. So your body doesn't want you to do that. It is counterproductive to your survival. Now, the person argued, and this is where it gets interesting. The person argued that, well, wouldn't your body want you to your offspring to survive? If we have a biological imperative, and those people who managed to produce children before they died, that's the main thing. That's the highest contributing factor to whether your genes pass on. Do you reach the age where you're able to have children? Do you become sexually mature? Do you reproduce? And do you have offspring that live long enough? There's the operative word. Do your offspring live long enough to reproduce? Because if you produced 1 million children and all of them died before they had children, would your genes be passed on? No, absolutely not. Your genes will die at that point. Even if you fathered 1 million children, if all of them died at 6 years old or 1 year old, not a single bit of your genes will be passed on. You're done, even though you fathered 1 million children. In any natural environment, not like the unnatural environment we create to starve ourselves down to get ripped, in the natural environment, if you don't have food available and you're starving to death as a strong, powerful male who can take whatever the fuck he wants, if you don't have food, then the woman you're knocking up doesn't have food either. The 10 women you knocked up don't have food. They're going to starve to death also. And even if they had children, those children are going to starve to death because there's not enough food to feed them. If there's not enough food for you, there's no food. It's gone. It's so therefore, men who reproduced when there was no food and still have the drive to do so, actually probably killed their own tribe off. Because they're the only one running around horny and knocking chicks up everywhere. And then they spent all their energy and starved to death doing so. And then the women are running out of food and they got pregnant and their metabolism went up and they all starved to death. So actually, still having that desire to do so would absolutely probably knock your whole tribe out. If all the men had that desire in a starvation mode, that tribe goes extinct. They're done. That whole group is gone. So no, it's the exact opposite. Just because your body doesn't know that, it's that men who had the desire to do so in that environment created more calorie burn for everyone involved, and therefore ensured that their genes died out. The men who sex drive went down until there was food in plenty again, they're the ones whose offspring are more likely to live because now there's food in plenty and then they can have sex and the woman can have enough calories to carry a baby to term. The baby might actually get to eat before it starves to death. That's the environment that creates an actual ability for your genes to survive. Just spreading your genes, if the actual act of spreading your genes will cause the death of your offspring, such as in that case, like you starving to death alone is enough to lower their chances. Even if you die, anything that causes you to die before the child reaches adulthood or old enough to reach sexual maturity is going to reduce their chance because they're losing a major provider. They're losing protection, physical protection. So any set of genes that even reduce that chance is going to reduce the possibility of your offspring surviving. And that's the interesting thing we note. Also, what do we see in studies? When men have a pregnant wife, their testosterone levels go down. When men have a newborn baby around, their testosterone levels go down. Proven scientific fact. Exposure to a newborn baby, the physical touch by any man who touches a newborn baby, even someone else's, causes their testosterone levels to go down. So in all actuality, even being a father, having large numbers of children around already, is going to make men's sex drive go down, at least temporarily, because for the same reasons. The exact same reasons. They don't want them running around knocking everything up when there's plenty of babies around. As a group, as a tribe. Same thing going on there. It's about survival of the species. Because again, if you're doing that, you could be overloading the system. And you guys can see from a biological perspective how that could work. You can see why that would be problematic. So, for the person wondering that, why wouldn't your body want you to go ahead and do that? Because people whose bodies wanted them to do that in the starvation mode didn't have children that survived. If they didn't reproduce and they focused instead on finding food instead of pussy, they actually had a much higher chance of living through the starvation and then actually fathering children afterwards once food became abundant again, once they could provide food, once they went and found a new food source, even if they had to travel 10 or 20 miles to go find it and then take, the tribe or a woman with them, then they've got food again, then they could reproduce. But men who still had the urge to reproduce at a high rate when everyone's starving around you, their genes didn't make it. As simple as that. And that is why you lose testosterone levels and you get too lean. You lose the desire for sex, you lose the ability to perform sex, and you really don't even care. All you really think about is food at that point anyways. And any of you guys who've gotten really ripped know that to be the case. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. And I will talk to you guys next time.